Gentlemen, ladies, it's the Market Sniper, yes, coming at you on a Sunday. So, this is the crazy world that we happen to be in at the moment right now. That essentially you have central banks the world over, my friends and beautiful people, that are all actively engaging in the debt markets. So, we have the Japanese on Japanese bonds without BOJ, Bank of Japan, buying and liquidity providing. We're just providing liquidity. It sounds like such a nice technical term. What it means is, let's just be absolutely patently correct and accurate about this surgically, rather biologically sounding words and wordy phrase, word salads that they generate as technical economic terms that make you sound so inferior of intellect to these wordy queens. Liquidity providing means absence of a buy stack and big presence of a sell stack that is coming down fast and nobody is there. Nobody is there. In short, the valuation of a hyper overvalued, super abundant debt market that is being sustained at a certain value is absolutely, quite rightly, unsustainable, because that which is not scarce does not need to command a high price. So you've got Japan doing yield curve control. Yield curve. That basically means interest rates. In other words, we'd like to keep the amount of interest we get charged for our over borrowings really low, so we'll print up our currency and proliferate, utilize that which we print, because that's the only thing we have power of, the ability to print our own currency. Take tons of that money and throw it into this bottomless pit of uselessness, which is creating a bid for an asset class that everybody has realized they all mega long of and need to be actually short of: the proliferation of debt. On the Head and Shoulders, you have run the Head and Shoulders target of 100 at the moment, and we're expecting overperformance to the downside. This is a secular, mega, long-term turn in one of the most proliferated Ponzi markets ever created, the debt markets. And you will, in our opinion, run these lows of 2003, and you're missing the 90s, the 80s, and the 70s to truly understand what a turning event this is. This should all be going to zero. Nobody wants it. And what's happening? Those very same central banks are trying to maintain the game. So in essence, all the buildings' main structural beams have now been severed, and they've put props underneath it to hold it up with a string, waiting till everybody's synchronized, ready to go to pull the prop out. The little joist there and the joist there and a couple of cement blocks, and they're going to pull one of them out, and the entire, simultaneously, all the major structural elements of the financial system will come simultaneously crashing down. That will lead to an explosion of headlines that will cause confusion, and you will have geopolitical events, escalation in war, quite possibly nuclear. Sterling, my friends, is for silver, and silver is real money. Everything else is currency, excluding gold. Gold joins silver as real money. So, with your pensions stuffed with all of the above, including corporate debt, and your understanding that debt markets intertwine with bank markets. So pension funds and banks intertwine. A bankrupt, completely go to zero debt market, where the super spike in interest rates is going to utterly destroy your housing market. It is utterly going to destroy your banks. And those zero bankrupt pension funds will lead to bail-ins on banks. Bail-ins or complete failure in banks. The money you have right now in a bank is no longer good, safe money. The money you have with government, and we are doing a deposit guarantee scheme, up to £80,000. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. That's mealy-mouthed music to make you be complacent. They need your complacency so that you can be shocked and the building can fall on top of you. They don't want you awake, far away from the scene of the crime, safe, tucked up, stacked with silver and gold, and going destroy your digitalized Ponzi scheme that you've proliferated, this monstrosity of over to the extreme worldliness of debt that nobody wants in an increasing interest rate environment at the end of a 40-year bull market. The death of the debt market is, my friends, the death of money. This swan dive, you suddenly think there's a bid going to show up here and save it. The only buyer right now is central banks. The only buyer, and these are not for profit buyers. These are for force of needing to keep the Ponzi scheme proliferating. We also predicted, and this I did when QE first came out in 2008, I said the day will come when they will raise rates on one end and they will do quantitative easing, debt-based purchasing and support on the other. This is your bonfire, and they'll pour water on one end of the fire and petrol on the other. And guess what? All you do is move the fire a little to the left. That's all you do. And it grows a whole bunch hotter on that one side and burns even more furiously. That moment has arrived. The ECB is raising rates, but is also committed to buying more government bonds, French and Italian and others. Never mind the fact that they are big holders of Porsche corporate debt, VW Porsche corporate debt. They're in the corporate debt market. Now they are becoming the equivalent of Japan, that is an active owner of 62% of the bond market and an incredible amount of equities as well. I don't have the accurate percentage, so I'll not have it a guess. But as you can see, that moment of doing two things that we predicted that are utterly contrary, proliferating money to support a value of a debt while tightening interest rates, being seen in the name of fighting inflation. In the name of fighting inflation, you do not print up more currency that further deflates the value of your currency to maintain a Ponzi scheme. Without bankruptcy, there is no capitalism. And we have a system of no pain and no bankruptcy since the dot-com crash. In fact, from well before, but it got highlighted in the dot-com crash, the great financial crisis, and you're seeing it again now with ever greater involvement of the central banking cartel that are there to Ponzi up and hold those structural pillars up until the great takedown, when they pull the wigwam and tent down on top of all of you, and you get force-fed central bank digital tokens and a whole bunch else, such as food shortages and everything else, to keep you reeling in geopolitical wars, supply chain issues, that you can't see the skullduggery of the end of money. Because the death of what gets borrowed into existence, if that asset dies, the money dies too. And that money, those assets are other people's liabilities. Those liabilities are other people's assets. At the end of the day, it is a takedown. You cannot have the failure of the debt system without having the failure of the banking system. You cannot have the failure of the pension industry without having the failure of your bank accounts. The money you have in your bank accounts. Right now, pensions are getting margin calls in the UK and are dumping bonds, equities and other things to raise cash, to make payments on other people's money. They are short of liquid cash to honor existing pensions. How do you feel if you're 55 right now, waiting 5 years out for your pension, and they are doing a fire sale just to pay the 80-year-olds, the 70-year-olds, the 65-year-olds that have gone before you? Do you think you're going to get a meal at that point? They're busy chopping the trees down to feed the old guys bark, and it'll be your turn. You're about to be hustled. You're about to be hustled in a central bank digital token UBI smorgasfest of skullduggery, smoke and mirrors, and poof, poof, poof. Here's Aladdin, and there she goes, and now she's gone. And you are left holding digitalized tokens that have been conjured up by the everyday crypto scammer before the central bank digital tokens, before this big collapse. You've seen them all. Now you're going to see the biggest and the most sophisticated of crypto scam creations and pumpermentals that you've ever seen before, sold with new confidence. This is the new way. We will have a more equitable society. We will be able to be more green and monitor those that are making positive contributions, meaning we will punish those who aren't. Ergo, what's going on in PayPal right now, cancel all your PayPal accounts. You must punish the demons, the Satanists and the occultists that are coming to steal from you. Here they go. Every single prediction we make is dropping. The day that the martial law will be declared and your own troops will be shooting on your own citizens in a social unrest, riots, lack of food, supply chain breakdown is all coming, my friends. Order out of chaos. They will create that chaos and they will create the order they want. I also showed previously on YouTube the debt markets that again I highlight. Sometimes you just have to hear and see things repeatedly for it to actually sink in. British debt is falling faster in value than American. As a result, the currency falls faster than American. As a result, your pound is going to die. As a result, get out of the pound. As a result, your pension is going to die. Get out of your pensions, get them into self-invested personal pensions and put them in gold, physical gold. As a result of all of that, your banking system is going to die. As a result of that, the cash in your banks is going to disappear and you will be offered in lieu of lost cash. In fact, you'll be offered, but if you decline the offer, you will just not get anything and you will go without. So it's an offer you can't refuse because you either get nothing or you take what they're going. There's going to be no haggling or negotiating. And in a totally globally synchronized way where there are no nations chasing sound finance, that we are all fall down and you are in a new world order system already. Your petrodollar was your global tax and now you're going to see it more clearly than ever before, and lockstep is coming and you need to focus on reset right now. Your assets, your retirement, whether you care for retirement or not, whether it's 30 years away or not, you've got to get wise about protecting your wealth. Otherwise, you will have nothing left to protect. And that's apart from a few central bank digital tokens that you could be fined for saying the wrong things on social media if you happen to make the wrong kind of utterances. Believe you me, I'm not expecting to have many. If the current means of what I'm doing to protect myself do not work, I'm on my own. By that, I realize that is the cost of me preaching truth to you about a bunch of Ponzi scammers that are just macro versions of crypto scammers that are going to be dropping a central bank highly centralized token on you that they will surveil you and all your spending and give you scores, points, good, bad and ugly, with deductions and everything else. And they will create inflation and they will create deflation by uniformly taking out of your wallets. They will give you time tokens that will force you to spend them in a certain time. They will have you dancing to their tune, Bubby. When they hit that Billie Jean, you're going to make like Michael Jackson, and that is who it is. You're going to dance, boy. You have become their girly man, ready to jive anytime they say in terms of their surveillance finance. So that is where we're at. The debt market failure is the system failure. Debt markets are failing right now. The central banks having to provide liquidity is absolute proof that no one wants to buy, and everyone has realized that the cycle has turned and debt could end up being worth zero. There could be entire defaults. Of course, they'll give you something for it. They're going to give you UBI, central bank. You won't get absolutely nothing for your pension. You're just going to get raped in a take it or leave it deal. Just like the people who got bailed in Cyprus banks. You just got some absolutely worthless shares in an absolutely wrecked, bankrupt bank that you can't sell, and everybody else has got to try sell. Good luck. Yeah, you lost $500,000 that got cut in half. No worries, you got shares. Fine, you weren't really screwed. You got something in lieu. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, boys and girls. This is where we're heading. Okay, that's it from me, guys. This is how many times you're going to get these warnings? I can't count that. I'm going to repeat this kind of a clip again very soon. This is it.